What happens when you combine a brand new track, an unfamiliar DMAX kart, and a guy who hasn't touched a Rotax in years? You get tonight's practice session and a race at Tamworth Karting, Daytona. Welcome back to Sliperracing. With the Elite Karting Series just a day away, I'm learning the ropes, pushing the limits, and chasing the lap time set by Formula One's Nicolas Latifi and famous YouTuber Matt Armstrong. Can I actually pull it off and beat their times? Stick around to the end of the video and find out. Learning a new track is like solving a puzzle. Every corner, every braking zone, every straight has its own little secret to master. But here's the challenge. I've only got 10 minutes of practice sessions to figure it out. No pressure, right? First up, I'll take you on board as I break down the approach to tackling this circuit for the very first time. From scouting the perfect racing lines to discover where the grip is, and it's all about building confidence lap by lap. But remember, this isn't a walk in the park. A new car and a fresh track comes with surprises. Expect mistakes, moments of genius, and plenty of close calls. So we've managed to jump on 2 lots of races tonight, so that is a 10-minute practice followed by a 20-minute race, and we get to do that twice. Now tonight I might not be the only one who's learning the track. As we can see, the kart in front of us just outbrakes himself and gives a little spin, but if you're not spinning, you don't know the limits. We're also going to see some familiar faces in this race, so with the quick finishes, and also in the next race we're going to see the founder of the EKS, Luke Battersby, also in there. So keep an eye out if you can see him, if he's faster than me, or indeed if we're able to get that overtake done. Now, something which I loved about Daytona is there is a lap timer on their kart, so we can actually see if we are making improvements as we go around. But I can safely say I don't even know which way the track goes around, and there's times which I forget which corner I'm at and maybe try and turn left when I should have turned right. So we'll quickly talk about the first lap at Daytona. So that first corner is meant to be flat out straight here. This corner as we're going around again is flat out. I'm definitely not doing it on my first lap. Now this is a blind braking point. I learned throughout the day exactly where to go, and I will go over where I actually learned that later on. But that is a late apex corner. This one again is a bit blind, very late apex corner. In this case turning too early, so I'm trying to learn where to go, maybe following the car in front, but we are on his bumper. Now this corner I got wrong so many times. It is again a very late apex corner. Seems to be a little bit of a trend there, so we want to make sure that we hook it all the way to the left, ready for a flat out right corner here. Now we're going to go to a long hairpin. Didn't set it up right for this one. Making sure that we hook all the way to the right, get ready for a left hairpin, making sure that we use all the track on the exit, however we are on the inside of that car there. This is a very fast left hand twitch, ready for a very tight hairpin to the right where your car will bog with Rotax, and then cross the start finish line. So a very messy first lap from me, but now we have to catch the karts up in front if we are able to, and also learn the track and make sure that we don't take ourselves up while we're at it. Now before coming here I did watch a couple of videos to try and learn which way to go and get some tips. However, it definitely doesn't show that I did that in these first couple of laps. Now on track with us right now we have the quick finishes as mentioned, so we have Freddie, Chris and Simon on track right now, and also we have Anth. However, he didn't make it in time to get into any sessions. And then on the EKS we also have Lewis, who drove down on the Saturday morning, so it was a very long day for him. I suppose I should also say me as well. Also, quick shout out to Anth for representing the ONLYKARTS brand. If you are wanting to get one of them caps, you can get it down below in the link for my Sliperracing merch store. Now, I'm sorry that was an extremely long intro, but now we can get back to the actual racing. So I want to point out exactly what you can see on my steering wheel, so I will give it a quick pause here and talk you through it. So we can see current position, we can see last lap time, we've got best lap time, we've got how many laps, gap to kart in front, and gap to kart behind. So as I jump back onto the race, we can see that we're currently 4th and that we have a 57.8 so far. Now the kart in front is Chris, so this is also his first time here, so we'll see exactly if we can catch him up and see how we're both getting on. And just to say that, I completely messed that right hand corner up because I forgot which corner it was and thought it was the one beforehand where it's not as late of a turn in or late apex. Now we are getting to grips with the power again, since we did do Rotax for many years prior of this, but it is completely messing the lines up and trying to get that right. Now if you haven't actually been in a road tax, especially these pre-evos, is unlike the 4-strokes where you can just put your right foot straight to the floor to try and get full power, you have to be a bit more delicate, ease it on, because the carbs are too big for the engines and it ends up bogging you a bit too much. So you've got to make sure that you have a nice smooth right foot, because if you don't, it will just bog out the corner. Now as you can see, I still haven't got the lines completely right. I'm definitely not taking that corner flat out just yet, but we are getting a little bit better on that right hand corner at the end of that long straight. Here we need to make sure that we keep it right nice and tight, which we have done there, and as we can see we are on the back of Chris. However, we did nearly go on the back of him, but we can see that we're just going for the overtake. He's seen us, he's let us pass to see if he can learn something from that. However, he's going to learn something completely wrong when I go around these next couple of corners, which you will see. But now we are getting a little bit of a pack, so at least we are doing that a little bit okay. We're not the slowest on the track right now, and we are getting that practice of seeing where we can get them overtakes as well. Now the kart in front, I believe, is Simon, so we can see we have caught up to him. Again, it's his first time actually on a road tax, which after this session everybody had the biggest smiles on their faces, and we can see that bright yellow crasher in front. That'll be Freddie as well, with a person in a red suit in between us, who I'm not sure who that is. Now I do need to mention in this video I am quite a bit lighter than the likes of Chris as well as Simon, and also that a little bit lighter than Freddie as well. So if you're thinking like I'm that little bit fast down the straight, that might be why. So back to the actual practice laps itself, we can see my lines are getting a little bit tidy, especially in comparison to the karts around us. If we look down on the dashboard, we are currently running in second for fastest lap. Now the practice session, or indeed this is the class as qualifying, so wherever we finish on our fastest lap in this one is where we start for the race. Great thing about Daytona as well, which I haven't done in a very long time, is rolling starts, so you will get to witness that when we get round to the race. And something that you may be getting used to on my videos is I have a nice little spin here and outbrake myself. The brakes are really good on these karts. I did have a little bit of a panic there when I saw Chris coming around full pelt around that corner. However, he was very nice not to hit me as it came past, but I did give him that quick wave. Now I am just going to skip to my fastest lap of this first session, so as we go over the start finish rate, we will give it that little bit of walkthrough. So first corner, flat out, making sure that we get a good run onto the straight. Now what I wasn't doing so much here is making sure I was using all the curbs on the straight to make sure that we can keep it as straight as possible. Now here I messed my braking point up there, which I learned was just after that light on the right hand side, making sure we use all the runoff. Now this left corner, making sure we cook it nice and tight, keeping the power on as fast as we can. Now I do turn in too early for this corner, which means I can't carry as much speed as I want going around it. Now this we need to try to make sure that we use more of the track on entrance, because I just compromise my actual line going around it. That flat out king to the right, which you can't really get wrong. Nice late brake into this hairpin, make sure we hook it all the way to the right again. Got that corner a little bit okay, definitely got better as the day went on. Quick flick to the left, and we've got to make sure we get our braking point right for this one. Make sure we try and jack that wheel as best we can, and make sure we get a good run out and across the line, which give us the best time of this session, or for this qualifying, as a 56.6. Now as mentioned at the start of the videos, there is some people's times that I really want to beat, which if you stay tuned to the end of the video, I will make sure that I put the picture up of the leaderboard, or the famous leaderboard, and see exactly where I can put myself between them famous F1 drivers, motorcycle drivers and YouTubers. So let's dive on into the race. So as mentioned before, this is a rolling start, so something that you may not have seen on my channel beforehand, but this is what I've been used to when I used to race owner driver karts. And just so you get to enjoy the two-stroke goodness, I'll be silent for the next lap. have it, our first race at Daytona, or at least first lap. So that puts us into first place. So luckily the person in first place did outbrake himself, and you probably noticed the flap on the left hand side. Now what I found out the following day is this is where you put your extra weights in. We didn't run any for this session, but it is great when you want to make sure everybody is on a level playing field. As I mentioned beforehand, the other quick finishers that are with us are a little bit heavier than us, so it really should have been good to actually put it in for this race. And what you've probably noticed on the screen as well by now is I'm absolutely having a mare, and I've dropped down to 4th place, just leaving the doors open for the other people. Now I wasn't quite sure where best to race so far, so where best to defend, where best to overtake, so it is probably best that I did drop down ready for the EKS round the following day. Now I wasn't actually sure of the next 2 people in front of me, but the person in first place was in the EKS running juniors the following day, which I believe he did alright through the day, so well done him. If you're watching the video, drop a comment down below, and what I will do for the rest of this race, I will stay silent and come back when we start race 2. And don't forget, you can see my position, gap to the kart in front, gap to the kart behind, and lap time on the dashboard in front. just come back there because we are getting close to 5 minutes left of the race. Now, since I currently had my camera inside the visor on this one, the battery did not last the full time, because I did get the full practice session as well as the full race, which was just over 30 minutes, and the battery only lasts around about 26 when it's not in its cradle. Hopefully you have enjoyed this race so far. Now, absolute credit to the car in front, the junior who was in first place, because the amount of times his flap kept opening up and he managed to reach back and keep his position. So absolutely credit to him, so well done him. And one of the things I mentioned at the start of the video was keep an eye on the lap time. So we managed to get a 55.929 in this race, and we'll find out at the end if it's good enough to beat Latifi and Matt Armstrong. In this race we do maintain third position, but was extremely close all the way around, maintaining the same distance as you really see on the video right now, which meant that we did get a trophy to take away, but then there wasn't much gap in between getting the trophy and then out for the next session. Right, so we'll jump to the next race. Now, in this session I didn't record the actual qualifying just to make sure that there's enough time for the camera to charge. However, we do have it in the cradle and it's outside the helmet. That's why you're not getting the yellow tinge from our visor in this one. In this race we have the quick finish again as mentioned before, but we also have a nice surprise guest of Luke Battersby, who organised the EKS, so it was great to actually finally be on track with him. Last time I was on track with him would have been the Bookmore 24 last year, and to be honest he left us for dead then, and we'll see if he can do the same in this race. Now, there was a few more in this session and there was some very quick lads, as a lot of these were actually doing the race tomorrow as well, or the EKS round. Now, we do manage to put it on third, which I still don't think it's too bad, so we are at least at the pointy end and at least we can see what we can do in this one. And with somebody in front of me, unfortunately I got in the habit of owner driver days where you need to make sure that you push the person over the line to make sure that you don't lose any positions. However, that didn't work when we lose a position right at the start, but we do slot into fourth place, which isn't too bad. Now, Luke did have a mare in this one, or indeed qualifying, where he qualified down in 10th place, but we are in 4th place and we'll see if he can come through. Now, since you had a chance to watch the entirety of the first race as well, hopefully you noticed that the lines are a little bit more tidy as I'm going round. However, I do know that I was still getting them wrong, especially from doing the EKS the following day, where I wasn't using enough track, or indeed accelerating too soon, braking too late, too early, etc. But still saying that, my lap time in this race is actually faster than all of the lap times I did in the EKS the following day, just due to the track, wasn't too grippy, etc. But hopefully you're excited for that video when I do release it, as it is a pretty good one. Plenty of excitement, and whether or not I do good or bad, we will find out. Now, first lap out the way, we have dropped one position, and we can see from the gap is that it's only less than a tenth before the kart behind is probably going to overtake us, but we will see. I am aware that they are there, so I do go a little bit defensive, trying to make it a little bit difficult for them to actually overtake us, but anything can happen. Now, we can see the guys in front have just gapped me a little bit here, so I do need to pick up the pace to actually catch them. Now, our first lap wasn't actually too bad, which means that these people are a lot faster than me so far, so I need to make sure I get my head down and at least not worry about the karts behind us, because that is slowing me up when I'm taking them tighter lines. Now, hopefully you are enjoying the video so far, which I really appreciate if you give it a like, as well as even consider subscribing. I try to get a video out at least every week, or indeed every fortnight, of the same sort of content. Quick jump to the footage, we can see the person in second place just outbroke himself, allowing the person in third place to make that move, but that is good for us because that means we can actually catch up and try to get in the toe of the karts. However, it does look like first place has gone and left us, but again, keep watching because we don't know what's going to happen later in this video. Rewatching this footage back, I can see all the little things that I learned on the actual Saturday when I was racing. However, there is some good things that I noticed me doing, maybe not so much going over that curb there. However, the turning late, especially into this corner, did get better on the following day. This corner I really struggled with because I was turning too early and not using all of the track on entrance, which was then throwing me off for the flat out right, which was slowing me down. Now this complex, especially on the Saturday, I was pretty rapid, which you will notice when I released that video. I was maybe one of the latest breakers going into that tight hairpin to the right. For some reason the amount of exit I got out that left corner was really good as well. And as mentioned before, the lap times which I'm currently doing now is, if not on par, faster than the majority of the Saturday, mainly because the amount of grip that was down on the AKS race day. If you can imagine, there was so many groups. It was a total of 12 hours of running for these engines as well, which are massive credit to actually road taxes. People are sometimes scared of the actual lifespan of them. Daytona is a great promotion to say that actually you don't need to rebuild them every 3 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, etc. And they will make sure they can go the entire day, especially for those who just want a little bit of a hobby engine. Go up on a Wednesday night, Saturdays, etc. Go out with a couple of mates and actually feel the speed you get from these 2-strokes Rotax engines. Now I will just skip a couple of minutes further forward. As we can see, there is a yellow flag on the, or the yellow light on the right hand side, and my favourite part of this video is if we look, we can see the driver just waving the yellow flag, having the time of his life, and that would be Chris. What happened is his foot throttle went jammed fully open, and with these engines he was smart enough to actually just turn it off, which you get practice to be a little bit of a marshal. And really, I needed to thank him because that allowed me to catch up to the karts in front, and as we can see from the actual lap times that I'm doing, isn't too bad at a 55.8, and it'll be good to actually see where that puts me for the karts around me, especially first place. But what that also allows is that the karts behind us can also catch us up, as we can see when I look over my shoulder, just to check how close they actually are. But being honest, I did get saved because it turned out to be a full course yellows while I did change Chris's kart. Again, may as well cut that out, and the lights have literally just went green. So did it catch us off guard? We are still on the kart in front bumper a little bit, so we'll see exactly what we can do with our pace now. Now, being honest, that yellow flag helped me for another reason, is since we just came out of a race, which is around about 30 minutes straight into another, not used to the 2-strokes and especially learning a new track, learning exactly where to hold it, I need a little bit of a break. My arms were a little bit tired, so then we can give it a good go again when we did restart. Now in this restart we can see that the karts have got away from us in front, however they can start battling, but at least we know roughly where we are slow for the next day as well. So you've always got to make sure that even though you might not be the fastest in that moment, to actually learn from it and see what you can actually use for the next day, not to get disheartened, because once that happens, once you lose your head, you generally go backwards and it can put you into a bad frame of mind for the next day. Now as mentioned, anything can happen. The karts in front start to battle, which allowed us to actually catch up to their bumpers. Now the person in the blue suit was very kind to give that place back. He did think it was a little bit too forceful, as we did see him clatter into the side of the person in the black suit, but again, can we make use of this opportunity to get past them, or do we sit back and let them just battle each other and see exactly what happens? Now we can see a great exit from the person in the blue suit out that last corner, which means he's actually puts himself off for the straight, but then what happens at the top of the straight, the person in the black suit is obviously aware that somebody's there, goes a little bit too fast, decides just to go across the grass because that's what you do, and that puts us into 3rd place. And even though we're in 3rd place, 2nd place isn't too far ahead, which means that can we get a nice 2nd place with this one? 1st place is checked out though, he has gone, but again, anything can happen. We also shouldn't forget about the karts currently behind us as well. Now coming up as well on this next lap is my fastest lap time of the night, or indeed the weekend as well, with the track being in pretty good condition. So what I will do is I'll let you enjoy it, see if you can take a thing or two to learn from it, and bear in mind that my line was actually still not the best it could be, especially from doing the following day. And there we go, that was actually my fastest lap, which we did a 55.799, which I'm really chuffed with. So make sure you remember that, because that's going to play a part at the end of the video. Now, even though I did get the fastest lap of my night, we can see that the kart in second place has went even faster, as well as catching the kart in front. So we still might be in this to get a trophy, especially if he does what he did beforehand and takes him out. Now, even though I've also got my fastest as well, we forgot about the karts behind us. Now, if we do look on our dash, is that we are 6/10 in front of the kart behind and a second, or roughly a second from the karts in front. But as we cross the start finish line, you are going to see something drastically changes. And as you probably guessed from the title of the video, is that we haven't seen a special somebody yet. So we may see an appearance from them on this next lap. Now, it doesn't look like I actually got a bad exit from that last corner, and again, as we cross the line, it's actually at 0.2 seconds from the car behind, so the person behind is going absolutely rapid. I managed to leave the door open going into this corner, and look who it is. Good old Battersby with his flaps open. Speaking about flaps, have you been in our merch store yet? Have a look at our ONLYKARTS hats. Now that was a pretty good segue, don't you think? But anyway, back to Battersby leaving me in his dust. Now, as we can see there, he's using the entirety of the track, and the exit he gets, especially going round that corner. Now, it doesn't look like he got too far away, but going into the next complex, he's just a little bit more looser, getting the actual rear end more rotated, and he's just getting away out of exits. And them tenths and thousands do add up over the course of a lap. Now, being honest, since it is now somebody that I know in front of us, it does make me try that little bit harder. So we do try and get our head down and make sure we keep an eye on the karts behind, because again, there's not much gap for them as well. And if we remember, somebody did take themselves out on this corner last lap, and they were faster than us, so we'd imagine that they're not too far behind us either. Now that we've also had our special appearance, I will let you enjoy the full race and full noise of these Rotax engines for the rest. Make sure you do stick to the end though, just to see exactly the lap times of the people that I wanted to beat. we have it. That is race end. We managed to finish in 5th place with the fastest lap of the day of 55.799. So the moment you've all been waiting for, let's have a check of them lap times. And I apologise in advance for saying these names wrong, but we will go for slowest to fastest to see where we are at. So in last place we have Millions, Adrian Silver, Tessa Whitcock, Derek Redmond, Kit Harrington, Buen Willowance, Kel Brook, Jeff Smith, Charlotte York, Stuart Lines, Connor Townsend, Alex Mowat, James Rispoli, Nicolas Latifi, which was our number one we wanted to beat, Mark McCann, Matt Armstrong, which our other person that we wanted to beat, Jenny Timouth, Darnell Furlong, Martin Plowman, Shane Kelly, Dean Smith, Jake Dixon, Sylvian Guantoli, and we're getting closer to the lap time we did, Kush Manny, and last but not least, Gabriel Bartoletto. So we managed to smash our goal and even get even faster up that board. Now that's it for that video. Hopefully you're excited for when I upload the EKS round, but I'll see you on the track next time.